Hello and welcome to this IPC virtual training session on key messages and dissemination. By the end of this session, you'll have a better understanding of 1. How to develop key messages that lead to action, 2. The strategies of communicating different IPC phases of acute food insecurity, and 3. Dissemination strategies. Let's begin with part 1. Your key messages are the main points you want your target audience to hear, remember, and act on. They should draw attention to the issues you want to communicate for action. By targeting your key messages to your audience, you're able to control the message you want to convey, as well as position yourself as an expert on an issue. Typically, audiences look for 4 key factors to determine what requires action: timing and relevance, what is happening now and what needs attention now; impact and consequence, the more people affected by an issue, the more likely it will get more attention; change, has a situation deteriorated, or even if it's improved will be of interest to audiences; and finally, human interest. A story about people generates an emotional response, which very often results in action. Remember, IPC data represents actual human beings. So how would you explain the key points of a brief to a close friend who has no technical background? Here's an example. If you were asked what does food insecurity actually mean, what would you say? Let's break it down into an easy key message. A person is food insecure when they lack regular access to enough safe and nutritious food for normal growth, development, and a healthy life. That can mean how much food people are consuming at a household level, what kind of food they have access to, and how nutritious that food is. It also includes looking at how people cope when they do not have enough food to feed themselves and their families. And finally, it includes the external key factors or reasons that affect people's access to food, such as insecurity or flooding. For the purposes of the IPC, let's take this a step further. During a food security analysis, the situation is classified into one of 5 distinct phases: 1. Minimal, 2. Stressed, 3. Crisis, 4. Emergency, and 5. Catastrophe. Each of these phases has direct implications for where and how to intervene, and inform real action to help people. The strategies of communicating different IPC phases depends on the level of food insecurity in a given context. This takes us into part 2 of this session. Now, how do you determine which briefs get more robust dissemination versus briefs that get a less aggressive approach? For the purposes of the IPC, the level of action needed is determined by the level of acute food insecurity. The general rule is, any analysis that has a significant number of the population classified as crisis, IPC Phase 3 or above. The key message here is twofold. 1. To let your audience know there is an acute food security situation that needs immediate attention, and 2. To help guide action that can reverse the trend, saving lives and livelihoods. That doesn't mean anything classified under Phase 3 is not important, but it may not be the top priority for donors to address. For anything classified as Phase 5, famine or famine likely, special communication measures are applied. This is a top priority issue that needs immediate action. These measures can include press conferences, media briefings and preparations, senior management being prepped for interviews, embargoed press releases and media kits could be prepared, and a dedicated microsite for regular updates on the situation. It's vital to plan ahead as much as possible in order to have the largest possible impact. This takes us into part 3 of this session: strategic dissemination, or how to get the word out. The IPC information dissemination structure arranges all communications activities within the project and provides the guidelines to be carried out at different levels. It details the methodology and the tools used for communication needs, as well as a detailed timeline to adhere to. IPC dissemination structure includes the following: information uploads to the IPC website, social media posts, alert emails, and sharing final information products with TWG partners at country level. Let's go over some tips that can help enhance your dissemination plans. First, it's important to build up your list of contacts. Think about a few things. Who does the information need to reach? Who could it benefit if it reached them? And who can take the message further? When developing your dissemination list, you'll want it to be comprised of different types of people: key TWG partners, key local government institutions, local media, and any other local organization that could benefit from the information. It's important to identify key audiences in order to inspire them to act. Once you have your list, think about how you'll share the information once it's published. All IPC products are published on www.ipcinfo.org, and they're also posted on Twitter under the handle @IPCinfo. You'll want to time your dissemination with the IPCs, so publication is well coordinated and has more impact. Once an IPC brief is published, you can choose to retweet or publish it on your respective organization websites. But if you want to take it a step further, here are a few other dissemination strategies you can try. Holding stakeholder briefings, targeted meetings aimed at articulating issues and encouraging action. Writing a press release, short stories or write-ups on issues that target the media and decision makers. Doing media outreach, contacting members of the media to encourage them to report on the issue. Organizing press conferences, arrange more formal media engagements aimed at getting your key messages out, but also be prepared to answer questions. Organizing joint press releases with key TWG partners is an effective way to raise more attention on an issue. Whenever possible, key messages among partners should be prepared and coordinated ahead of time. Try to get your materials and messages agreed upon and approved at least 24 hours ahead of your publication date, and decide who will represent which organization and speak on which subject. Then, you're ready to disseminate. Remember to send your product to all the members you added to your audience list, with links that lead to the full brief on the IPC website. Encourage them to share the information on their social media and websites as well. Because the farther the message spreads, the more likely action will follow. Well, that's it for this session. I hope you found these tips and tricks helpful, and we at the Global Support Unit are always here to help guide you through the process.